ラングリッサー。
政権を復活させるには純粋な魂を捧げる必要があるの。
最後にもう一つ儀式が残っている。
ユリアさん、何を。
私の魂でこの世界を照らせるのならば喜んでこの魂を捧げます。
Hey everyone, this is Nitro. So, in this video, I'm going to review some of those Apex matches that I did over the course of this weekend, specifically yesterday. Not quite sure why, but I actually played a lot of Apex matches yesterday. Just kind of felt like it, and as a result, I have now passed 2,000 points. So I'm at 2012 points. In terms of ranking, I'm now in the top, I'm staying in the top 50, I suppose. Right? At one point, I was all the way up to, what, 27th, 26th, around there. But, yeah, I don't really need to maintain being this high. As long as I'm top 256, I should be fine. So, but, yeah, played some more matches. Having 2,012 points should basically guarantee that I make it to the playoffs now, so I may not have to play any more matches. But I'll probably get my 1 win per week at this point for those last 2 weeks, just to get that first weekly reward of 50 honor points and 50 Trinity crystals. But yeah, I'm pretty much done with Apex Arena for the rest of, until the playoffs anyways. So, in terms of the matches though, I played a whole bunch. That's why my number of matches fought has spiked up to 97. And there were quite a few interesting ones mixed in as a result. A huge part of that was because, of course, the major update was just released, so there were more 3Cs being introduced to the game. The main one that I've seen so far though is Imelda's, right? So I'm going to demonstrate that first. It actually led to quite an interesting battle. Turned into a bit of a running battle. So let's just begin with this replay. And I'll quickly go over the pick ban phase here before jumping further in. Pick ban was relatively interesting. Like, I mean, FenixTK's party is not, it's meta for sure, I guess, because the meta has been expanding, but it was not what I expected at all. Because if you take a look at this, he's actually playing an Empire party. Ares is Empire, Sakura is Empire, Leon is Empire. You know, Iris is considered Empire as well. Olivier is Empire, Imelda is Empire. So I just didn't recognize that. And even though he's playing an Empire party, his only real faction buffer for all these Empire characters is Leon. So Leon really should have been a priority ban for me. But in any case, didn't see it, so I banned Juggler first, as usual. He bans my Juggler, and he plays Landius. So as I mentioned, at this point I should really be banning Leon, right? Get rid of the Empire faction buffer. But I got rid of Wilder and Listel. Went pretty standard there. And I play my Landius. Enemy gets rid of my Wilder and Liana, and they play Leon. Right? So really, the first ban I probably should have gotten rid of Listel and Leon. You know, let him play Wilder. Wouldn't have been a big deal. In any case, I now get rid of more healers, Liana and Iris, and play my Imelda. Or sorry, play my... Wow, that's not Imelda. I play my Deedlit. Iris and Yusuke are now banned, so my only healer now is Deedlit. And enemy plays Imelda. So the Leon-Imelda combo has already appeared. So I get rid of Olivier and Sakura. Playing my own Zerda, and I now lose Angelina and Luna. Enemy plays Ares. Right. Get rid of Yusuke and Luna now, and I play Hiei. And finally, I lose Gizaroff and Bozel. So and enemy plays Deedlit, and I have a choice between Illustrial and Listel, and I choose to play Listel. Right. Listel at least is faction buffed, unlike Illustrial. Splendid Legends. He is pushing in very aggressively right away. And I move my tank up. And Leon activates his faction buff. So this Leon is very, very uniquely built, right? We also saw him activate Breeze. So he has Blue Dragon Strike, Legion, which is standard for PvP, but he's bringing Imperial Charge instead of Chivalry. So that's a new thing because Imelda now exists. So he's continuing to set up for the offense. Sea of Miracles is now triggered. And I have Deeplit self-buff because there's nobody who can apply debuffs on my Landius. And now Imelda moves up, Queen's Whip is used, and it buffs up Leon, okay, with the Queen's Whip buff. So he gets an additional 10% attack, int, skill, crit chance, crit damage increase, fixed damage. Yeah. Okay. Or that also increases fixed damage if your character does do fixed damage. So worth noting is this Leon does not have his exclusive armor. Right? That's why when he took damage, he didn't trigger an ignore terrain buff. If Leon has his exclusive armor, he will be able to ignore terrain as well. So in other words, you'd have a Leon that can move 7 tiles to attack, and it can ignore all terrain that he's moving through. Which is why this Imelda Leon combo is incredibly deadly if you allow it. In any case, so I have Serena activate her faction buff. I can't really attack at this point, and due to having 7 mobility, right, Leon can move all the way up here. So I really should have hung further back, I suppose. And Leon with Blue Dragon Strike kills off my Landius, and an AoE finishes him off. Not what I expected at all. My Landius has not been one-shotted by Leons for a very long time, so that was news to me. Excuse me. But I begin my counterattack. Hiei moves up, launches the Dragon of Darkness Flame, gets to act again, and now he moves up to kill off the enemy Ares. So I've lost my tank, but I've been able to kill off the enemy. Unfortunately, I had moved to the teleport had sent my Deedlit into a position where Landius was just in range to attack her. Right? The Blue Dragon Strike damage. So since she was already at half health, Landius was able to easily finish. So that was once again, that was my fault. If I had hung further back, Leon's Blue Dragon Strike would not have teleported characters into range of Landius for attacking. Some careless, basically, I totally underestimated Leon here. But it's okay, can still kind of recover, I think. So I have Deedlit launch out her Blood Dance to kill off Leon and heavily damage Landius. This one was another mistake I made. I should have retreated Hiei back 2 tiles to avoid that attack from Deedlit. I was not counting, or I didn't check this Deedlit here. And because I didn't check Deedlit, I didn't realize she had Breeze. So with the +2 mobility, she could move all the way here, act again, and attack my Hiei. I was assuming 3, then that was it. Right? Instead it moved 5, got to act again since it was in range of my characters. Or sorry, if it moved 3, it could move maybe 3 more to here and can't attack anyone. But with 5 movement, different story. It was able to attack my Hiei. So another careless, not paying attention kind of thing, causing me to lose another character. Yeah. So now I'm down to 2 against 3. And I have my Serena start attacking the enemy Landius. Because I need to take him down. Right? So there's that first life. The fixed damage from Serena's Hellfire Archers doesn't do quite enough to kill off Landius' second life, but leaves him basically dead, because if he gets healed, he dies. So as a result, I try to run away, right? Deedlit gets to continue her attack. Doesn't kill my Listel though. And Gift of Eternal Life actually finishes off Landius. So now I have Listel toss out Mindbore to try to apply, heal reversal onto this Deedlit as well. Zerda jumps in with a range attack. I wasn't expecting to kill, but I needed to do some damage to her, right, to weaken her dramatically. And I was hoping that maybe her self-heal, her health restoration might kill her. Imelda jumps in, and surprisingly, Imelda one-shotted my Zerda. That I really didn't expect. But I guess with a faction buff, having traveled 3 tiles for 15% increased damage, that allowed this Imelda with 1427 int, without an attack skill by the way, to actually kill my Zerda. Oh, there was a reason. Zerda wasn't at full health. The Hellfire Archers are damaged, so that explains it. If she was at full health, she shouldn't have died. But since she was already damaged, she died to this Imelda. And I just tried to toss out a Reaper's Touch onto this guy. Unfortunately, not enough damage to kill Deedlit. So at the end, it ends up being one character, Listel, against Imelda and Deedlit. And Listel didn't even do enough damage to kill off Imelda. So I ended up losing, but it was still a very, very close match. Despite my tank getting taken out right from the beginning. This match was very, very close. If I hadn't made some mistakes, like letting Hiei die in the bottom here, battle could have gone in my favor for sure. Luck played a huge aspect in this win, right? Leon's 3C teleporting characters to the right spots, Breeze activating on Deedlit and me not noticing it. There were luck elements, but that's fine. I mean, PvP does have luck, Apex Arena especially. So, when you make mistakes, you generally have to pay for them. Long story short. This battle against Sigfer Rolendi, I'm going to skip. I mean, he uses Serena as his tank, which is interesting. The only thing I want to mention about, I'll jump into it, just to mention one thing about Serena as a tank. Because Serena will only beat you if you don't understand him. He also, as a side note, he also used Renata, who was honestly not very effective. Maybe I can go over this battle, I guess, because he uses a very odd party, right? Might as well. So for this battle, Serena, the thing about Serena is her passive entrenchment has this effect. When guarding units, right, you will restore 20% max hit points upon taking damage that would otherwise be fatal. And this entrenchment effect can trigger twice per battle. And she also has a 3 guard range if she's guarding allies who have lost all their soldiers. In other words, if you target Serena directly, she's not going to revive. But if you target her allies, she is going to revive. So that's a very easy way of countering Serena, just as long as you know you're targeting the right character. That's it. But yeah, the pick ban phase, I pretty much banned any kind of faction buff for Sigfer's party. And he didn't even bring Gospel. He brought Mass Protect for plus 20% defense for his characters. So he didn't have the maximum damage he could. On my side, well, Landius buffs up both Wilder and Angelina. Luna can also buff up Angelina and herself. And Bozel also has a faction buff. So my whole party is faction buffed, his whole party is not. Which leads to a very big difference in combat performance. I suppose you could say Ares is faction buff since he has a self buff, but that's pretty much it. Although it is interesting to see that Serena has surprisingly high defense, right? 1156. That's much higher than most characters can ever get. But in terms of combat performance, you'll see it's actually not that great because her soldiers don't do very well. Oh, interesting. Oh, so he actually brought a faction buff on Ares instead of the 3C. So it's a Wind Whisper, Transmigration, and Noble Charge Ares, which means Renata is faction buffed. Fair enough. Let's have Waller use high stakes. buffing up everyone.
これが私の信じる心です
He Bass protects, providing everyone with a defense increase to try to keep them alive, if you will.
この件については
I
もう考
now
えて
start moving forward. Weiler regroups himself, so basically he's at full health. Sigfer uses Chloe's Aurora Ring, so that characters heal after combat, triggering a similar, kind of similar effect as my Weiler. And now I have my Angelina, Breath of Tides to hit 3 enemies, pushing them up, and then I get to act again. And I thought I could kill Chloe here, but I didn't. So I very, very much underestimated the 30% physical damage reduction of these phalanx soldiers. Ended up leaving Chloe with 4,175 hit points. So clearly my angels were not up to the task of finishing off these phalanx soldiers. I'd have been better off probably crushing Ares instead. Nonetheless, the thing though is I still have my Desperate Prayer, so Angelina will be healed to full health before combat begins if she gets attacked. Here, I have Luna charge up and strike Chloe. And with 2,235 attack, she absolutely crushes Chloe. So I could have actually killed both Ares and Chloe here. Renata comes in and attacks my Angelina. Angelina lives. So yeah, I mean, Renata not doing all that much damage, frankly. Let's show that again. Those 2 fixed damage triggers beforehand, she's using her attack skill and doesn't kill my Angelina. Yes, my Angelina has Desperate Prayer for reduced damage taken, but still, you'd think with an attack skill doing 1.6 times damage, you'd be able to one-shot an Angelina that doesn't have last rites. Yeah. And yet it doesn't. So, yeah, Angelina without last rites tanks that hit just fine. And I'm not even on defensive terrain for damage reduction either. So there's a lot of factors into this attack list now, and it just shows that Renata, I don't know, I just haven't been impressed by Renata's performance in general in any of the videos I've seen. Moving on. Black Hole is tossed out by Bozel. He gets that debuff effect from Renata, right? The Dragon Seal. See, one of the biggest problems with Dragon Seal, in my opinion, is it only lasts 1 turn. Right? So when attacked by Renata, you cannot be guarded, and damage taken is increased by 30%. But the fact of the matter is, if you just end your turn, that seal is gone. So, in any case, Serena attacks my Luna, and this was an example of what I mean. Right? Luna tanked this hit from a 2090 attack Serena just fine. And that's purely because these Holy Pegasus were not killed by the Zealots. Not even close. Right? So, you know, as a result, Serena had to waste a lot of attacks finishing off those Holy Pegasus. And she didn't have enough attacks to deal with my Luna. Yeah, it should be a 5-star Renata. But similarly, my Angelina is also only 5 stars, right? I only have 16% increase on stats and whatnot. So, continuing on. I could not care less about Serena. I'd launch another AoE, and this time around, finish off Ares, and silence both of them. So, Liana casts his prayer. I thought Weiler could finish this target, because it had no soldier, it still had soldiers, but instead Weiler ends up attacking Serena. So Serena has her exclusive armor, in other words, right? Because she was above 60% hit points here, as we see. So since she's above 60% hit points, but she was still guarded, she, she'd have, Serena has her Dawn Guard exclusive. Serena tries to attack again. Weiler's Desperate Prayer heals me up to full health. And this is where I make another mistake. Luna attacks Renata, ends up attacking Serena, and then Serena revives because she's guarded. Nonetheless, I haven't lost anyone yet, although I finally do. And I lose a character to Renata using her empowered Dragon Seal of all things. So the Dragon Seal is kind of like sleep in some ways. It does some damage to your character. So down goes Angelina. Since that was not considered combat, Angelina didn't get to heal before combat from the Desperate Prayer. Not a big deal though. Still 4 against 3. He starts by healing Serena to full, so I just put Serena back to sleep now. And next, now that she's been put to sleep, Landius kills off Leanne. So I'm just totally ignoring this Dragon Seal. I don't even care. If he attacks and kills someone, big deal. Right. And now this time around, I have Luna attack Serena to knock her down to near death. She should have never been alive, but it's not a big deal, as I said. She's already nearly killed. So Sigfer is trying to pull a surprise strategy here, right? If you're not aware, this Brave March allows her to guard at 3 range, not just 2. So that's why he moved Serena back in hopes of being able to guard Renata and then maybe triggering the revive again on Serena. But this time around, I'm not falling for it. Bozel kills off Serena. And all I have to deal with now is Renata. So Renata with Dragon Seal does kill off my Luna. Okay? Since she is doing 30% increased damage, and I no longer had the Desperate Prayer buff on Luna anymore. But no big deal. Easy mop up. So Sigfer is showing Renata in combat, as well as, I guess, Landius, but I don't know. Not impressed. Just not impressed by Serena or Renata yet. Moving on then. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think she's an interesting character. I just think against the AoE meta, she's not very good. Yeah, but if you're relying on full damage reflect for a damage dealer, I think that's kind of weird. She won't have damage to actually kill enemies then. Let me take a quick peek, because I did get a few copies of her. Haven't really upgraded her yet though. So I'm guessing you're talking about this, right? No, that's not it. Where is it? Rage scale? Yeah, when entering battle, 20% of physical damage is reflected, and you heal afterwards. I mean, he had rage scale when I was fighting him just now too. You'd have to run some really weird build. I think you'd need Thorns Enchant, you'd need Holy Arc. Holy Arc provides what, magic defense? So yeah, I mean, you can definitely run it, but I just don't think it's going to be very effective. People are more likely to launch ranged attacks at you or AoEs, right? Especially with the current meta. The current meta is completely about AoE attacks. So running a physical damage reflection build, kind of awkward. Or melee damage reflection build, I should say. Do I even have a Holy Arc? I thought I did, but seems like I might have gotten rid of it. Interesting. So I currently don't have any level 50 Holy Arc at all. Oh well. Yeah, I was trying to look for it because I wanted to see which stats the Holy Arc buffs. I don't even have a Licorice, so no, I can't even show her. I aimed to get her, but I failed to get her. So I can't demonstrate her at all. Moving on, and actually, all these battles I did yesterday, I didn't run into a single Licorice either. So this is what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 battles yesterday. 0 battles against Licorice. Yes, Holy Ore is around right, is Karka. Yeah, so even in the playoffs, the China server playoffs for Season 4, I saw a few battles of Renata being used. In none of those battles, I felt she was a deciding factor. So, I don't know. That's why, as I mentioned, I don't really have that much interest in doing a video on her yet. I mean, it's on my to-do list. I'll try to get it together. I wanted to get it together this weekend, but there's just too many battles I have to play right now. Time Rift and the Forbidden Battleground are taking priority over a Renata video. Ah, thank you, Iskarka. Yeah, hit points and magic defense. Kind of awkward. So none of that helps Renata do damage, right? You're giving up 75 attack and maybe 5 or 8% attack value for damage reflection. I don't really think it's worth it. In any case, let's continue. So I guess I'll show this battle against the Mandalorian. Oh my god. This was completely a battle where I truly, utterly underestimated Tiaris. Of course, a huge part of this was that I completely misplayed the pick ban phase too. Should not have gone the way it did. But, you know, more power to him. I made a mistake, or I made a big mistake, and he took advantage. Juggler ban, as usual. Juggler ban. Landius, pick. Here I lose Zerda and Illustrial. So Juggler, Zerda, Illustrial so far. Right? And Landius for him. So now banned heroes are now Listel and Zerda. And I chose to play Wilder. So here he bans Yusuke and Hiei. Getting rid of 2 of my good damage dealers. Plays Ares. Angelina and Rachel are banned for him. I play Liana, which was probably a mistake, frankly. But he bans Gizaroff and Listel. Plays Tiaris. Leonhard and Yusuke. I mean, nothing out of place so far in terms of the pick ban. Right? I could have gotten rid of Tiaris earlier as a side note, but I just didn't think she would be very impactful. So I played Angelina now. He bans Luna and Bozel. Plays Bozel. And finally, I ban Liana and Diglett, and I play my own Diglett. And he plays Luna over Chloe. So as usual, moving forward. Nothing out of the ordinary here. The thing was with his pick of Luna, it was actually smart because it reduces the damage my Diglett can do, right? So Diglett no longer has a very good chance of one-shotting Landius. I didn't even think of that until the battle started. And once I realized, I'm just like, uh-oh, I'm probably in trouble, aren't I? Here he uses attack blessing on Luna. So Breath of Tides with Angelina. Push back. And then I chose to charge forward and assassinate this Bozel. Probably was a mistake, frankly. Because it was a trade of characters. But now that my Angelina is dead, I'm in trouble. What I really should have done was trade for Tiaris, right? Trading for Tiaris would have removed his only healer. Then, with no healer, I could have slowly weakened down the remaining characters and they would have not been able to heal. Well, Ares could have healed, but no one else could have. So that was my mistake. like I said, I very much underestimated Tiaris in this fight. Most of this is just, I'm gonna just mostly skip this because it's just maneuvering at this point. He hangs back, I slowly increment forward, and then he finally starts moving, right? Sorry, yeah. I just slowly get my way forward into these tiles, and then he just continues to hold back for now. So I'm just triggering buffs. He's waiting for my Wilder. He's waiting for my Wilder Desperate Prayer to wear out, I think. But he actually charged in with Luna before it wore off. So I start attacking Luna. But with Healing Light from Tiaris, he's healing up any damage I do. So he has Ares launch his AoE. Doesn't really kill anyone. Oh, actually it did kill Wilder. Okay, I take that back. It was close, but Wilder did die. So it re-triggered my Desperate Prayer. Tiaris charges up and launches Miracle. I follow up by healing up. So he maneuvers up. And now I have Deedlit, Elven Aura Strike, down goes Ares. So it remains a 3v3, I suppose. And then at this point, really, not much happens. I mean, it's literally just camping for the next 6 turns. You know, if I go next round, next round, next round, next round, nobody really... Oh, I did manage to trap the Luna, so it got eliminated as well, right? Because it was like all the way up here. In order to get into this tile, it had to use Wind Spiral into poison. So I trapped the Luna, it died, left him with just Tiaris and Landius, but I can't kill them. I think I tried, but I think Bloodline Magic Armor actually activated. I don't really remember at this point. But long story short, I couldn't finish off the Landius because Tiaris just kept providing healing, and as a result, he ends up surviving and winning the match. Right. So round 12, right? Damage output, he has more damage than me. And plus, when he ends turn, he wins. It's an interesting aspect of this, that if both sides have at least one surviving character, whoever does more damage wins. It's not based on the number of characters you have alive. It's based on whether you're alive or not. Not sure I agree with that. My personal opinion is, but then I think there is a reason, because technically if you have summons on the field, maybe summons are also considered units, right? So if you have multiple summons on the field, even if you just have one hero, they might consider that as you winning. I don't know. In any case though, lost battle. Wriggled, I now tend to do reviews of battles instead of live streaming them, because in live streaming, you're taking like 5 minutes per turn. Well, I'm kind of exaggerating, but let's say you take a minute or a minute and a half per turn, right? Whereas going over a review, I can focus on the battles that are actually interesting, and the battles won't take so long. There's a whole bunch of battles I have listed here as skip, for example. And if you were watching them, you won't really pick up on anything. So I had a match where I won with Gizaroth yet again. I think I'll skip that one because the previous video I did was all about Gizaroth. So I'll skip that one. Next, this one is, I think, me being careless. I'll just briefly demonstrate it. It's kind of embarrassing. I keep forgetting that when you face against Angelina, you should remove Peace of Mind and bring Tranquility, right? Simple concept, but if you don't do it, this is what happens. So I'll skip this quickly. Oh wait, is this the right battle? Oops, no, this is not the Angelina battle. Okay, I'm not sure which battle this one is then. Oh, I know. Okay. Yeah, I might as well demonstrate this one. This is one where I made a mistake in totally miscalculating things as well. So every now and then I make these kind of mistakes, especially against characters that I don't really expect to face. In this case, it was a Ledin, of all things. Ledin with Righteous Duel in PvP, I'm like, huh, whatever. I was like, I have Omega, I can crush him easily. He has no skill on Rachel, right? He has no skill on Liana. I don't imagine I should have any problems with this fight at all. He doesn't have a skill build, and I have Bozel to buff up my Omega as well. So I was super confident, probably overconfident, I would say. And so I'm just pushing in super aggressively. Like, I truly thought I had this in the bag. I was like, whatever. Won't require any real focus. I'll just push in aggressively and smash. So I just send Landius charging up. And I think peace of mind. The goal there was to set up a situation where Landius can start guarding all my characters as they're launching out AoEs and single target strikes. So he takes advantage by using Righteous Duel on my Ledin, or on my Bozel. I'm still thinking, whatever, not a big deal. Let's charge forward, Deedlit. And that was where I made my first mistake, first of all. For some reason, I thought Deedlit would be able to act again there. Right? But there was no one that was going to attack her. That's why I used Sea of Miracles. I probably should have just Elven Aura there. But Elven Aura with Unicorns probably would have not done that much to the Phalanx. I'm not sure. Would have been interesting if I used Elven Aura, that's for sure. But I actually don't think I could have killed Ledin. In any case, because of the Righteous Duel effect, totally forgot about this, but Righteous Duel, for 2 turns, it reduces the mobility of all adjacent enemies within 1 block by 3, and renders them unable to guard. So, Landius was unable to guard my Bozel, and as a result, Bozel got killed by Rachel's single target strike of Dark Reaper. Boom. Yes, the one surprise for me there was that I thought I completely forgot I didn't trigger as well. I normally trigger high stakes before combat begins, so I thought I had it. I didn't. So as a result, Rachel was able to Dark Reaper a damaged Bozel and take him out. Once again, I truly thought Bozel would live there. I just completely forgot that the sorceresses were damaged and they weren't going to be healed by Wilder. If I had actually noticed that, I would have had Wilder use Tactical Retreat rather than Deedlit Sea of Miracles, for sure. Right? Tactical Retreat would have pulled this Bozel to safety. In any case, so big mistake there. Very, very careless mistake, for sure. Yeah, right? that special effect never kicks in except for PvP. So that was another factor in me forgetting. There were so many factors. I was like, oh yeah, Landius will guard Bozel, and then you know, Rachel won't do much. And then I was like, even if it goes through, I didn't think it would go through first of all, so that's why I didn't Tactical Retreat. And then of course, I always assumed that I had high stakes active, which it wasn't. So there were a lot of little effects in that just now, for sure. No, he doesn't. You don't understand, as it's an aura effect. It's Ledin applying this effect directly onto Landius. Having an Overlord's badge does not guard against aura effects. That's why when Juggler uses Beast Shock, enemies can't guard. Beast Shock is the same. If it's a buff on the enemy hero, and it's not a buff that's applied onto your tank, then you can't guard. Just so you know. That's why Ledin can do this. That's why Juggler can do this. Aura effects are very, very annoying. Emmerich can do the same, as a side note. Alright, so down goes my Bozel. My plans have kind of collapsed a bit. And continuing the cannot guard thing, Yusuke moves up, launches Dark Tinker at my Deedlit and kills her off as well. Right? Since I'm next to Ledin, I still can't guard. Down goes Deedlit. 3 versus 5. Game over. There's, I mean, at best, I think I can kill Rachel, but the battle is done. There's nothing I can do here, especially when the Ledin Righteous Duel effect lasts for 2 turns. It's not just 1 turn, it's 2. So there we go. Covered in the previous video, Tommy. Not gonna go over it again. Alright. But basically, to Deedlit as a mage can bust through Landius. Deedlit as an infantry is meant to target Juggler. Depending on which tank you ban, you should change the class of your Deedlit. Alright, so that was just me being super careless against Ledin. Okay. So this was actually I completely misnamed this. This is against lose to Ledin. Interesting. In that case, where the heck did the battle against Angelina go? I don't even know. Maybe this one? You should never be able to one-shot Landius with an infantry Deedlit. Never, never, never. Unless the enemy Landius is not properly built and your Deedlit is fully built, that should never be a situation that occurs. I have to give up on Licorice. Unless I somehow get another donation of Echoes of Light, I'm giving up on Licorice. At least you can pick up Licorice in the future, but with Green and Ariane Rod, you really can't. At most, you might be able to get them next year, like August 2021, if the event reruns, right? So let's continue. Oh, actually, I should probably resize this. I just realized, since this is a stream, give me a moment to change the setup so that I can actually see the chat properly. Alright, there we go. Okay. Yes, I know. I think this is one of them, right? I just keep forgetting to do that change. Although I did win one of them here. So, okay. Let's just quickly go through this. Pick ban, as usual. Juggler ban, Landius pick, right? This time I ban Listel and Mystery Knight for Kuira. I pick my Landius. I lose Angelina and Illustrial here. He plays Claret. Zerda and Yulia ban. I play Wowler. Pretty standard second pick. Zerda and Gizaroff are banned. He plays Angelina. So Claret, yes, this is the Angelina battle. Claret and Angelina. There we go. I play Hiei, Luna, and Deedlit. He plays Chloe. He's going for pretty much a full Yelas Legends party, right? Which is fine. I don't really mind. Vienna. And finally, Omega and Listel are banned. Right. Sophia, I play Bozel as the last character because I already had 2 healers. So overall, I honestly felt the pick ban kind of favored me. it would have depended on whether it would have really depended on whether Claret can one-shot my Landius, but I didn't think it could. Not entirely sure though, because there have been situations where it does. In any case though, the big problem is I forgot to bring Tranquility on Landius, so I had peace of mind. So he's immune to getting pushed. So initially, I tried to kind of set up to protect against Angelina, right, by spreading out Bozel that far away. But it's very, very difficult to protect against Angelina, truthfully speaking. Very, very difficult. So I kind of spread out initially. But sooner or later, you kind of have to group up. That's the problem. If you want your tank to actually protect your characters, sooner or later you have to group up. And here, the problem was I grouped up like this, so Angelina can Tidal Surge, Breath of Tides, and only push Hiei and Landius. And then the follow-up strike with Ram kills off my Hiei. Just like that. So to be fair, I actually did think that Hiei might be able to survive that, because I thought he would be at full health on mountain terrain. Maybe he can take this hit from Angelina. That was my thought. Nope. Right, because that restored his hit points to full. But Last Rite does not provide enough protection against Angelina in this case, unfortunately. So without enough hit points, he dies. Battle's basically over. I no longer had a way to properly ignore Landius' guard to wipe out the healers and whatnot. So if Landius was pushed south, would have been a different story. Yes, Angelina could have killed one of my healers, whether it's Wilder or Liana, but killing a healer when I have two is not a big deal. So this was one of those fairly careless matches that I lose as a result. The really sad thing was I actually kept telling myself during the pick ban phase, gotta change peace of mind, gotta change peace of mind. But when the battle started and I was, choosing skills and so on, it just totally flew out of my mind. So one of those very careless mistakes that causes you to lose for sure. Let's move on. Next battle then. That one was Skip. I guess a fairly easy win. This one was kind of interesting in the sense that I played 3 healers and managed to win, which was bizarre. But the very bizarre thing was the 3 healer choice actually made a difference. Okay, so let's just go through it. Juggler, Juggler, Landius, right? Nothing changes for the first options. Here was the interesting. Bozel and Listel were the first ban. So enemy plays Iris. Joshua and Mystery Knight are my bans, and I chose to play Wilder. I really should play Zerda at those kind of situations, as a side note, but I chose Wilder. Whatever. Right? Zerda gets banned as a result, of course. Same with Angelina. Enemy plays Ares. Angelina and Leonhard are banned. I play Illustrial. So Hiei and Luna are banned on my side now. Enemy plays Rene. Next, Bozel and Dietlit. I play Liana. And then finally, Omega and Dietlit are banned, leaving me just Gizaroth and Iris. Enemy plays Matthew, so 2 flyers, 1 long-range AoE attacker, 1 teleporter and Landius. And I play my Iris. So the only damage dealer I have here is actually just Illustrial. Awkward, right? So, initially, I'm just kind of maneuvering forward a bit with my 3 healers plus Celestial. Priority, gospeling up Landius, making him be able to guard and heal and all that stuff, because I'm worried about Renee and what she can do. Enemy sets up, Gale activated on Matthew, whatever. Triggering high stakes. There is a method to the madness though, that's the thing. So this whole strategy is about keeping Celestial alive to take out everything. And Adaire charges in with Sword of Destruction to start things off, and apply cannot be healed on my characters. So Celestial has it, right? Landius ignores it due to the immunity to all debuffs. Liana has it, but that's another reason why I played 3 healers, so that I could easily dispel that kind of debuff. So first, I have Celestial attack this Sword of Destruction Matthew. Surprisingly, failed to kill it. I thought that with the Bone Dinos of all things and an Celestial, it would be an easy kill. But somehow it actually managed to live. Even now, I'm not quite sure how. Maybe, like, I had 15% damage increase after all. So, big surprise to me there that Sword of Destruction Matthew tanked that. Oh, I think, actually looking at it now, I know why. I attacked at 3 range. The Bone Dinos were not participating in the fight. They only have 2 range. That's why. I should have attacked here, then retreated. So that's why Sword of Destruction Matthew survived. Very careless. But yeah, whatever. It lives. Yes, the point is he has nothing to bypass my guard except for Ares. And actually with the Sword of Destruction Matthew AoE, Liana dies. Right? Liana was damaged, Shrine Maiden's no longer kicked in for the main AoE of Wind Whisper, so Liana falls, just like that. So, I pull back with Tactical Retreat. Annoyingly, Tactical Retreat positioned my Landius at the very far back. Right? So Landius is currently, as a result of this, Landius is actually unable to guard my Celestial when I plan to have Celestial attack from the forest tile. So, unless I start by moving Landius forward. And then Iris has to use her teleport to teleport Landius so that Landius can guard. Awkward, right? Calamity Throw is tossed onto my Iris. She's been silenced. Nonetheless, with this, now that I can attack and ignore guard, Ares dies to Celestial very easily. And Celestial gets guarded. Then the enemy Landius goes after my WoW, taking him out. So, it removes 2 debuffs and reapplies the Desperate Prayer buff for 3 more turns, which is a good thing for me, frankly. Iris still has 3 debuffs, even after 2 of them were removed, and she's still silenced for 2 turns. So I have her attack, finish off the Sword of Destruction Matthew, and heal up that way for now. Patter Matter! 2 more AoE, 2 more debuffs. Right? 2 more random debuffs. From her talent, and I think Pattern Matter itself applies 1 debuff, 1 set debuff. So, minus 30% defense was the set debuff. I got 20% damage taken and cannot heal yourself on Celestial. Landius just gets nothing because he still has that immunity to all debuffs, and Iris now has a grand total of 6 debuffs. Still, not a big deal. As mentioned, they can't break through my guard after all. And since Landius is mostly immune and has Desperate Prayer, this Matthew attack does basically nothing. So Adaire teleports forward. I could not care less. I have Iris continue her attacks. She has Bolt Rangers doing extra damage to flyers. Down goes Matthew, 3-on-3. Landius jumps in to attack my Landius. Almost kills himself doing so. And Adaire just runs away. So Rene is a big pain for sure with the debuff she can apply at 6 stars. But she doesn't exactly win matches ultimately. She's like a debuff. She's there for debuff hell. But if you do make some of your characters immune to debuffs, you can kind of deal with it. And again, that's why I went for the triple healers in the first place, to protect myself against it. And Adaire knew the battle was basically over, right? That Rene no longer had any skills. So she had, I guess Rene had clocks, but it didn't trigger. So basically Adaire kind of got screwed. Is Karka, if you wait it out, I can always choose to suicide Wyler later on. That's the thing. I've won quite a few matches by purposely suiciding Wyler and then triggering the buff near the end of the match. Yeah, it is well known I have arguably some of the strongest tanks. Arguably. At least my Landius is. Juggler, not so much yet, but my Juggler is still pretty hard to deal with. So that was the Adaire battle, right? Running 3 healers. It worked because the enemy had no assassins. Yes, exactly, Vermilion. That was my next target, to take out Rene. So, what's next? Next battle, probably this one? So once again, for this battle, I totally forget to change Peace of Mind. I face off against Angelina again and so on. It's the second match against Kuira? Blah. Whatever. So here, let's quickly go through this. Landius. Nothing really unique about this pick ban either. Okay, well, it changed for me. He banned my Wyler and my Angelina. Angelina, not Angelica. Angelina. So I played Iris first. Okay. So one of the matches where I don't get to pick Wyler second. So Zerda, Deedlit ban. No. He plays Claret again. I think he plays the exact same characters as last time. I play Liana. Gives her off an Illustrial ban. Yeah, Angelina. I ban Rachel and Illustrial. Hiei shows up again. Omega. Luna ban. He plays Chloe. Right. Deedlit and Yulia ban. I play Listel. And he plays Sophia yet again. So I went through the exact same pick ban process as last time on purpose against him. I was confident I could handle this party. As long as I switch to Tranquility, of course. And naturally, what Tranquility? Tranquility doesn't exist. Of course, you just bring Peace of Mind. Facepalm. So yeah, I still have Peace of Mind yet again. Trigger it, whatever. No Wyler this time to provide a Desperate Prayer, which is actually an issue. So I start by teleporting Hiei forward to force the combat to occur. He casts his Mass Heal to give everyone extra defense. I use Act again on Landius. I actually made a mistake here. Quick mention. Okay, let me just go back a few. I thought that I could have Landius from here charge forward to guard Hiei, and he couldn't. That was a major mistake on my part in Landius' positioning. So what I really should have done was move Landius all the way here, then move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to here to guard. Then that should have been what that was what I should have done. Landius up to here, then Landius up 5 more after Liana act again. I just couldn't do that because I mispositioned Liana as well. Liana should have swapped spots with Iris. So there are a lot of little mistakes just now in terms of the first turn positioning. I knew I had to push in, and that was my whole plan, but I missed position. And also, Iris. I didn't have Iris move up when she used her teleport. That was another stupid mistake. So there were actually a whole bunch. Like, I should have had Iris move up at least 2 tiles there, right? Behind Landius. So a whole bunch of careless errors with my starting positioning and starting actions, in fact. But you know, it happens. The strategy was 100% correct. The execution was kind of lacking. Nonetheless, despite those ridiculously stupid errors, I go for it. So, Hiei dives in, AoE, Dragon of Darkness Flame, Sword of Darkness, ignore guard, down goes Claret, or with the extra fixed damage, of course. And Hiei now dies because Landius was not in range to guard him. Hiei never should have died there, as I just said. In any case, here we go. Listel tossing out a Blood Dance to start. So I read it. I knew for this fight, Seal would have a great effect. So instead of bringing Mind Bore, I chose to bring Seal. Blood Dance, Reaper's Touch, Seal. Because I knew exactly what party he had with Sophia and Chloe. So I knew that these two would be great here. Or so I knew Reaper's Touch would be a must, and I knew Seal would have a big effect on the fight. So, Tidal Surge, single target strike on my Landius. Blood Shield activation. I didn't even need the Blood Shield to tank that hit, I'm certain, but it always helps when you activate it. And it certainly lets me heal up Landius more with the prayer to keep him at a healthier level. Otherwise, he would have been at much lower hit points himself. Right. So, because of that, I chose to have Listel attack. Big surprise to me there. Listel fails to kill Landius. So the 720 magic defense actually was tankier than I expected against my 1188 magic, 1188 int. I really thought that I could easily kill off Landius here. It's only 5,882 damage after all, but nope. So that was a big surprise to me that the single target strike didn't kill Landius for the first time. I think what that meant was I need Gargoyle Soldiers on my Listel rather than Vampire Bats. My Vampire Bats aren't even fully leveled, so that's probably one effect and why Landius survived 444 hit points. If the Vampire Bats were level 10, different story. In any case, it lived. Annoying. I tried to have Liana follow up. Liana couldn't even do that much damage. 444, come on, right? But the Shrine Maiden attack was so low, I thought the 908 int would be enough to do 444 damage. But 720 magic defense took it and shrugged it off. That was another big surprise to me, right? All I needed was 444 damage. I had 908 int against 720 magic defense. It was not enough to do 444 damage. 339. That was it. 339. I mean, granted, yes, he has the 15% damage reduction for range attacks, but still, 339? Oh man. So yeah, Landius survives 2 strikes that he shouldn't have. Big surprise to me, once again. And now he gets mass healed and brought to a healthy level. I pretty much do the same, mass heal. Now this is where Angelina, Breath of Tides, Knockback, and Freeze. Single target strike against my Liana. This time, Liana tanks the hit. Unlike Hiei, Liena actually tanked the hit. It really confounds me because, you know, in the last time, last time with Hiei died. This time, Liena damaged tanks the hit. I mean, sure, he didn't have Ram this time around, but still. It's interesting to see. You know. Once again. I guess this is the difference in enchants. I did enchant Liena for quite a bit of hit points. 11,763. Whereas I think Hiei was significantly lower in hit points. So, in any case, very much a surprise to me there. And yeah, so, but Liena lived, and now I can guard her. Ah, that might be why. That might explain it. Good point. Let me just go back. Was it because his faction buff wore off? Let's see. Yes, he had no faction buff. That explains it. Yes. So that's why. There was no faction buff on the Angels, no faction buff on Angelina, so Angelina had significantly less attack, and as a result, Liena survives. Yeah, last time Angelina definitely had faction buff. This time around she didn't. So I'm trying to heal up my characters. I had to have Liena use her act again on herself, but it was worth it. Liena, title surge again. Launching another Breath of Tides because she got Rewind from Sophia. Characters get pushed back. But this time around, Listel is blocking the path to attack Liena and so on. And so Listel takes the hit easily. 822 defense. And there's no way Angelina can break through that. So that time around, yeah, I mean, Listel had some damage, but she has enough defense and immunity fixed damage to easily tank the hit from Angelina. So then I can have Iris range attack. Still failing to kill her though. Right? She still lives. Last time around, you know, Bolt Rangers, I rely on quite a bit to take down these flyers, but yeah, Angelina, surprisingly tanky. And now I toss out the Reaper's Touch at long last. Because Chloe was around. Chloe had activated Aurora Ring previously, right? So now I was able to Reaper's Touch it. Yeah, that helps a lot at this point. Because now Landius is going to take a lot of damage. Chloe will take a lot of damage. Angelina won't, and Sophia won't. So, the barely alive Angelina now gets to finish off my Liena. Right? So, but Iris gets to finish her off in response. Mr. Landius attacks, and Aurora Ring does massive damage to him. So I jump in and have Listel launch her Blood Dance. I was hoping for a silence on Sophia, but I suppose this Sophia probably has... Yeah, but I didn't get it. I mean, I know she has Goddess tier, so there was a chance of silencing her. Nonetheless, Chloe jumps into attack and then kills herself. Because this Chloe, I think, has the Gift of Eternal Life. So between Gift of Eternal Life and the Aurora Ring, after her attack, she kills herself, leaving him with just 2 heroes, and the battle's over. Alright, so there we are. Yeah, is Karka for the fact... I mean, the previous battle, that was the same situation though. I knew Hiei would be put in Forest, and I knew Angelina would lose attack that way. but Hiei still died. And I think part of that is because my Hiei is not 6 stars, right? He's 5 stars right now. So between 5 stars, not having quite enough hit points, and yeah, his enchants don't give him enough hit points either. And, oh, that's why. There's no last rites on him. He has a Monkey King's vest. That explains it. Okay, so easy fix. Let's steal Omega's last rites. Okay. Done. Now Hiei should not die anymore. In those kind of situations. And yeah, this should be fine. So this is much better. With last rites, Hiei should be fine. And I don't really have to worry about Omega because he's been actually removed from my party today. Quick thing, I'm going to remove the gear from Matthew and then throw it onto my Omega. Yeah, Matthew currently has my Omega gear because I was doing Forbidden Battleground? Whatever the battleground is called. Forgotten Battleground? Forbidden Battleground? Whatever. So let's throw that gear back into Omega, although now he no longer has the last rites. And then give whatever gear back to Matthew. There we go. So Matthew has his gear again with a level 30 Demon Lizard skin. A weird set of gear. Just whatever leftovers I have. Okay, so that explains why he died. Without last rites, I'm no longer surprised. Alright. Yeah, I really thought my Hiei had last rites. That's why... In any case, though. There we go. That battle is done. Let's take a look at the next few, right? So, this one, I did not deserve to win. It was a terrible pick ban. Terrible pick ban. Forbidden Battleground. Thank you. So... The only reason I won is I got completely outpicked, but he made some massive errors. It was kind of a comedy of errors. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Juggler ban as usual, Landius pick. I lose Iris and Deedlit as my first 2 healers here. Enemy picks Joshua. He is running a very time and space box, right? And Joshua is like just about his only faction buffer. But since he picked it, I got rid of all his tanks. So Estelle, Juggler, and Sumire have all been banned. So no tanks for him. Right. Then I play Wilder. So I was thinking, hey, with this, I can easily, just guard, defend, and crush him. He plays Luna now. I ban Sumire and Listel. And I play Listel. That was bad pick ban part number 1. Because now he plays Ares, so he has high mobility so far. Bad pick ban number 2, I banned Rene with Leonhard. I've been banning slow characters, right? I mean, Leonhard makes sense, but Rene didn't. Sakura didn't either, because they're both slow. So I should have gotten rid of the higher mobility AoE strikers first. And since I was getting rid of slow characters, I played Bozel, but because I was thinking I can hold back and, fight in the rear, right? So now he gets Angelina. Luna, Ares, Angelina. 3 flyers. So... terrible pick ban. So at this point, I ban Bozel and Iris, leaving him with Imelda or Olivier. Right? And I play Gizerov, and of course he chooses to play Imelda. I would like to, but I don't think I can. We'll see. I'm thinking about it. There's various adjustments I have to make for sure, but I'm not sure yet. In any case, so I have a very, very slow party with Bozel and Gizerov. Wilder, Listel. I mean, about all I can say about this party is everyone is faction buffed, right? Gizerov has 2 AoEs with the Construct, Bozel has the faction buff with Sleep and Black Hole, and Listel is here with Mind Bore, Blood Dance, and Seal, because I don't need Reaper's Touch, right? Imelda is going to be so far behind that there's no real point in bringing Reaper's Touch. So this is interesting. He chose to bring Unicorns on Angelina, and for some reason he brought Heavensguard on Ares. Unicorns made a lot of sense because that way Luna's Wind God Realm would buff up Angelina, right? And Unicorns can ignore terrain. The Heavensguard really didn't make sense. So let's see what happens. So he starts mobility buffing everybody with Wind God Realm and faction buff. I'm just kind of setting up, doing my thing in the back. And he begins maneuvering his characters forward with alternates and then shifting up. Yes, it's a pre-free Sea Gizoroth. Queen's Whip is used on Joshua to raise his mobility up to similar levels as everyone else. So now he has 5 mobility with the Wind God Realm able to allow him to move forward. Okay. And this is where I have Gizoroth drop a construct for now. And now he makes a big mistake. He Fearless Hurricanes in the back, thinking he can charge all the way up to attack. And then he gets stuck. The reason he got stuck, of course, is because Heavensguard do not ignore terrain. So he got completely stuck on this forest tile, and then couldn't even move, and can't move through this mountain, of course. The only tile Ares can actually move through like this is if he had charged through the center, where there's no terrain. But if there's forests and mountains, and you're actually running Heavensguard, you can't get in. So, major error with his soldier choice. And that totally screwed up his Ares assault as a result. Because Ares has wasted his 3C. Dark Demise's launch hits my Listel. Interesting factor. Listel looks like she's nearly dead. Right? Half hit points. Let's take a look at her. She actually has 9,395 hit points. She only lost 4,000 hit points there. The Vampire Bats lost 8,000, but she herself didn't lose all that much. Remember, she has extremely high defense, first of all, and she normally, I think my Listel has last sprites, so 40% reduced damage as well. So the combination of those two made her just completely shrug off Joshua's strike. I did lose the defense and magic defense portions of her buff though, so I do find Joshua very annoying to deal with, truthfully speaking. But still, Listel's okay. Joshua jumps in with a second AoE. Okay. Doesn't kill anyone. And runs away. And now this is where it gets fun. Tactical retreats. Everyone is pulled to safety. Ares can't reach me. So I think he was going to follow up with another Wind Whisper attack from Ares. So even though that first AoE didn't happen, I think he thought that he could follow up with Wind Whisper. Right? All my characters are heavily damaged after all. But with a nice tactical retreat, suddenly Ares can only reach my Bozel and nobody else. So he comes in, melee attacks, does not kill Bozel, right? Bozel is faction buffed, and this Ares has no attack skills. So Bozel tanks the hit. No issue there. Actually, wow, these soldiers are actually really, really weak as well. 30% attack increase? It's supposed to be 45%. So he totally brought the wrong soldier choice in Ares. So I then have Bozel put Ares to sleep and do a good chunk of damage to him. Continue starting to spread out now. Let's have Gizoroth finish off Ares. Right. I'm spreading out a bit to avoid more AoE attacks. And Listel drops her Blood Dance against Joshua at this point. Also silences. And then I follow up with Gizerov. And the construct charges forward. So now with this, even if Angelina uses her AoE, she can't act again with this spread of characters. Well, she can. If she moves up here, sorry, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, sorry, she can. She can attack these 3. So she can charge forward, AoE these 3, and push them back. Which is what she does. And act again. So Breath of Tides, knockback. Funny thing is, with that knockback, my characters are in poison, so he can't actually follow up to attack them. So he goes after Gizerov, the only character he can actually attack with that knockback. Not a big deal though. Gizerov creates new construct for me as a result. So I start now with high stakes triggering. One of the constructs gets killed. And Landius attacks Angelina and finishes her off. So, game over. Yeah, this was honestly a cluster. Yeah, I mean, if he didn't bring Heavensguard, I definitely lost. No argument there. This is not the map to have Heavensguard on Ares at all. So, big mistakes on his part. Let me pull off this win. Like I said, I totally lost in the pick ban phase. I just banned the wrong characters. But I don't know how I won that. Like, frankly speaking, I should never have won. But I'll take the win. Yeah, it was an awkward match. So, you know, Langrisser players make mistakes. It's very common. I mean, over and over again, I did not change up Peace of Mind for Tranquility on my Landius. So that's just another example of making mistakes, right? Mistakes all the time, long story short. This battle I'm going to skip. It turned into a match where neither of us could kill the other player's characters. That was the pick ban. It ended up being we had lots of tanky heroes and healing, and didn't have any good damage dealing to kill the tank. So he actually ended up managing to seize the positions in the center, and he just blocked them off, and I lost by losing in poison. So that was awkward. There was a chance for me to win, but I basically misplayed it by tactical retreating to the wrong location. I tactical retreated too far back. If I had tactical retreated into the terrain that is not poisoned, I would have won. But since I tactical retreated back, too far back, he was able to seize all those middle tiles and win. So yeah, that was literally a match of whoever seized the middle first won, and he did it. And I guess the last 2 battles, I might as well go over these last 2 battles, because I'll go over the Omega battle because Omega is actually getting removed from my party. I finally crossed 2,000 points, and then I remove Omega. Kind of ridiculous, but that's how it goes. Alright, so here we go. The first one though, I threw Omega back into my party. And here, usual juggler ban, usual Zerda and Illustrial ban, 2 assassins. He plays Landius, nothing has changed. I ban Wilder and Tiaris. I play my Wilder. You know, very common so far. Listel and Hiei ban, leaving me just Angelina and Omega as options. He plays Liana. I ban Listel and Zerda now and play Angelina. He had to pick a healer, right? Although he could have waited on the healer, to be fair. He actually still had 3. He had Liana, Iris, and Deedlit as healers. But I think he knew that he should not play Deedlit because Deedlit would do basically nothing to Landius in infantry form. So he skipped Deedlit and chose to play Liana, which is certainly a pretty smart choice in my opinion. Otherwise I would have banned Liana and Iris for sure. Guaranteed. Alright, so continuing on, I play Angelina then. And he plays Ares. Yeah, I've been letting a lot of Ares into the field because I just don't feel all that threatened by Ares. I don't know. At least that's been my impression. He is annoying for sure, but he's manageable. He's not in my opinion, he's not an early pick or an early ban. In any case, Bozel for me. Deedlit and Iris get banned. Enemy plays Mystery Knight, so 2 AoE attackers. A very late Mystery Knight can be a deadly threat, to be fair. Very annoying to deal with for sure. So I ban Deedlit and Luna now, some more damage dealers, leaving him Yusuke or Iris. And I play Liana as the last pick. And he plays Yusuke. So, moving forward, right? In terms of faction buffing, right? Landius' faction buff will affect Angelina, Waller, and himself. Bozel brought his own faction buff again, and then Liana has Gospel, so Liana's the only one not buffed, which is always the case for me, isn't it? I never get to play Luna, never ever ever. And I understand why. Nobody wants to face assassins with Luna. So Luna always gets banned. It's just a fact of life. Alright. So I act again. Right early on. I act again my Landius right away at the start. Because I wanted to activate his... I wanted him to have both his faction buff and his guard skill up right away. And I also wanted to give the first turn advantage, quote unquote, to Everblue. I didn't want to go first. That's basically it. Not with Waller high stakes and this setup, I want to go second. So he comes running in, toss a Thunder Zone right away. I just heal that up by casting Prayer. So it has no real effect, but he does get 14 movement with this attack and retreat and so on in Mystery Knight. So in that sense, Mystery Knight is now... She only needs to move 20 blocks to trigger the skill cooldown reset, right? So next turn, since she activated Breeze, she can easily move another 6 blocks to trigger it, if she wants. So very quickly, he's been able to launch an AoE and refresh it, which is annoying for me. Now, he's hanging back and spreading out because of Angelina, right? The threat of Angelina's Breath of Tides plus attack is making him spread out and hold back. He did, unlike me, he did bring Tranquility though. So he's actually aware enough to change skills, but he's still spreading out because he doesn't want me to push the other characters. If I manage to push other characters without pushing Landius, he's still gonna lose someone. So I'm just incrementally moving forward now, taking the center, gospeling up Landius now that he has activated Psychic Eruption. Interesting point there is he held off on the Psychic Eruption activation, right? Most people activate it right on turn 2. He didn't activate it until the end of turn 3, right? So it's going to last a bit longer. He faction buffed right away, but he held off on Psychic Eruption. So it'll last for as long as he's doing combat. Thunder Zone, round 2. Right? I have no choice but to tactical retreat because I need to get rid of that damage and avoid Ares' follow-up AoEs. So that worked out great. So now, you know, Knight of Mysteries no longer has Thunder Zone for quite some time. Meanwhile, the activation of Peace of Mind on Landius. He's moving in to get ready to attack, and I get the opportunity to put Landius to sleep. Right? He moved him up to try to guard and protect Knight of Mysteries. But since I was able to activate my Peace of Mind, I can have Bozel now move up and put Landius to sleep, exposing the Knight of Mysteries. For an easy kill. There was a mistake though, I would say. I should have probably moved Landius up to activate guard, like this. If I had done that, Angelina could have attacked right away. But with this setup, if I have Angelina attack, then what happens? Well, if Angelina attacks, Yusuke or Ares will kill my Angelina. So I did make a mistake there, holding back like this. But at the same time, I was kind of worried about Ares and Yusuke. Okay. I was concerned that what would happen is they can come in and start hammering away at my Landius. So I decided to hold back. I mean, either way could have worked, I think, but I chose the more defensive method. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So, act again on Landius, because that's my only healing skill available to me right now. And here's the third attack, the Wind Whisper. Doesn't kill anyone though. Right. None of the characters that got hit by this are vulnerable. And I had Landius move up to guard these three, Bozel, Liana, and Wilder. So I had to offer Angelina as a sacrifice. So I did make a mistake at the end of the day. I should not have placed Angelina up here. Right? If I had moved Angelina back, she would not have been involved in that combat at all, and she would have been healthy. Nonetheless, I mean, 4v4, it's fine. Enemy Landius is put to sleep. I have all the time in the world to wipe out some characters. He runs away with Yusuke, and I go for my first kill, which is Ares. It's now 4 against 4. It was 4 against 5 just now when he killed my Angelina. So now it was basically traded Angelina for Ares. But now I'm able to take out Landius. That's the thing. So giving up that first turn has helped me quite a bit. Right? Since he, let me just go back to last round. Right? Since he killed my Angelina before she acted, I got to act first, or I got to act on this turn, and I got to act again right after that. Right? So because I only had 4 characters this turn, and he had 5, I moved all my characters first before he did, and then I got to act first again the following turn. Right? So that's why Wilder got to attack and kill Landius. And then right after that, he gets to act again to finish off Landius for the second time. So just like that, it ends up being 4 against 3. So that first turn Liana act again really helped me out. And at this point, he has no real way to break my guard. Funny thing here, Knight of Mysteries launches out her Broken Spear attack at my Wilder and fails to kill him. So this is because Knight of Mysteries no longer had a faction buff, right? That faction buff of Landius is so key. It gives you that 20% attack increase and another 15% increased damage. So between all those factors, this Broken Spear attack, even though he moved all those tiles, couldn't even kill Wilder, of all things. Wilder! Come on, this is Wilder. It's not like it's Liana or anyone else. So Wilder totally shrugged that one off. Oh, thanks for watching. I actually was willing for Wilder to die as a side note, because I wanted to have Desperate Prayer or whatever. And it gets even more amusing. So, Knight of Mysteries had refreshed the skills again because she moved 20 tiles, right? After the attack and retreat. Not sure why he didn't choose to use Thunder Zone, but he chose to use Broken Spear with a heavily damaged Knight of Mysteries. And so she kills herself now. It's 4 against 2. So battle's over at this point. I mean, as soon as I killed both Landius and Ares, that was the turn where everything was won. So there we go. Still, I felt that was fairly interesting because of the act again on first turn so that I go second as player 1. It definitely made a difference later in the fight. That's how I feel about it. Alright, so finally the last battle to go over is an easy Omega victory, as usual. Omega continues to be surprisingly effective in grinding up to Langrisser rank. You know, people have been saying, oh yeah, remove your Omega, but the fact of the matter is he is still surprisingly decent in it. So usual pick ban, you know, I ban Listel and Zerda, he bans my Zerda and Listel, pretty much the same identical pick ban so far. He plays Rachel, I ban Tiaris and Mr. Knight, and I play Wilder. So that's where things kind of start changing. Angelina and Lustriel are banned. A lot of people ban Angelina early, because she is a big threat. Between Breath of Tides and then a single target strike, she is dangerous. So he plays Ares. Hiei and Dietlit are banned, and I play Bozel. So he doesn't have any assassins anymore at this point. I lose Gizaroff and Hiei, so I still have an assassin, Omega, surprisingly. He plays Liana, and I get to play, I ban Yulia and Young Jessica now. Yulia, and then leaving him the choice of Chloe or Yusuke. And here I get to play my Omega as a 4th pick. Pretty nice. After I played Bozel. I mean, he had a tough choice, right? He had to choose between Omega, Hiei, and Gizaroff. Allowing both Bozel and Gizaroff is not a very good recipe for success, right? And so he chose to ban one assassin and Gizaroff, and allowed me to play my other assassin as a result. So Dietlit, Luna ban at this point. He plays Yusuke, and finally I have a choice of Iris or Liana, so I play Liana. Bash. Yeah, I mean, it works, so why won't I use it? It's pretty consistent, okay? So I start pushing forward. He maneuvers forward to guard as well. So he has no way to ignore guard, and since my tank is basically unkillable, there's very little he can do in this fight. At least that was my opinion. Weird choice there. He chose to gospel up Ares when Ares activates Fearless Hurricane, right? So I'm not sure why he did that. In any case, I gospel up Landius, who had activated Peace of Mind. So he maneuvers Landius even further forward, is now blocking me from attacking anyone in the back with my Omega. I just finally have my Landius activate his faction buff. So he's formed a roadblock with Landius, stopping me from the back. That's okay. I'll put him to sleep. Right? If he had gospeled Landius, I would not have been able to do that. But he didn't gospel Landius, so away I go. And now I start ripping into Landius for that very reason. Didn't apply any kind of cannot be healed debuff though, so he gets healed pretty quickly. Nonetheless, time for me to use Act again. He launches out an Arcane Blaster with Rachel. So I'll toss out my Bozel, Black Hole. Minor mistake there, quick mention. I could have moved Bozel up a tile and then hit all the enemies, including Ares. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter, because even if I did, first of all, Ares is immune to all debuffs. And second, when he activates Fearless Hurricane, I believe Fearless Hurricane allows him to heal 30% of his health with reinforcements. So even if I had AoE'd him, he would have taken no damage. So AoEing from the spot is fine too. And now I tactical retreat everyone back. So, tactical retreat is part of why I really like Waller. I mean, I like Waller because he has high stakes, of course, but tactical retreat is also a great part of his kit that is widely underestimated. So then, Omega, Cold Blood, attacks Liana, who is damaged by Bozel's AoE, and then teleports back, and I can move him back. Just like that. So free Liana kill due to me using Act Again on Liana and Bozel tossing out that black hole the previous turn. If he healed up Liana, I would have taken out Rachel. So he pretty much had to make a decision of which character to save. Next, Prayer. And since Landius is still asleep, I had my Waller attack and weaken Yusuke a bit. I could have weakened Landius instead, but you know, didn't really matter, I don't think. Didn't really matter which one I weakened specifically. Rachel jumps in to attack, my Landius fails to kill. Okay. This was interesting because I think, yeah, this was a full hit point Rachel. This is actually kind of surprising to me. I guess my buffs on Landius have made enough of a difference now. Because as I said, I've been building him up, right? So, Dark Reaper couldn't one-shot my Landius. And so I regroup him. I don't get the Act Again effect, but I don't care. The point is I need to heal him up. Because of this. Wind Whisper. Teleports. More the AoE damage. Fearless Hurricane. So I move Liana up to attack, and that way she does some damage to Ares, breaking the last strikes if he has one, and then her talent will AoE heal Landius as well as Omega. Bozel's not healed, but he didn't have any ranged attacks anymore. He already tossed out his Arcane Blast. So now I have Bozel attack, single target strike there. Landius continues to have Desperate Prayer. Yusuke can't do much as a result. And then he heals up to full with Desperate Prayer and finishes off Ares. So just 3 enemies left at this point. I have Omega attack at 3 range to do some weakening on Landius at this, and it's looking good. Yusuke launches another Dark Tincture at my Landius, weakening him some more. And this one actually applied cannot be healed, or cannot heal yourself on turn. Because last turn I had Liana attack Ares instead of Gospel Landius. So my Landius is now killable. Okay? But no big deal. I'll put Rachel to sleep so she can't attack this turn. Landius has to activate action buff, right? Or else, you know, Rachel is going to be super weak next turn rather than attack me. And so, with Rachel asleep, Omega moves up. There's a 2 range attack. Goodbye, Rachel. So yes, another example of the no-die or unkillable tank strategies, right? This has been one of the strategies I've been using. This battle was with Omega, but I did pretty much the exact same thing with Illustrial, right? In that battle, I went even more extreme because I brought 3 healers with Illustrial. It was Ledin, 3 healers, and Illustrial. But Illustrial was able to kill off targets one by one and be protected by Landius. So this was the same basic strategy. You know, tank guards your assassin, assassin kills the enemies one by one. The meta is definitely moving away from this, right? The AoE meta with Bozel, with Listel, with Rene, with Gizaroff, with Licorice, all of which can apply debuffs or even map terrain effects that apply debuffs. That is where the meta is heading towards. Mass AoE that applies debuffs so that, you know, maybe you cannot be healed, or stat debuffs, and then you're struggling to heal up properly at that point. So that's where the meta is heading towards, but for now, this assassin strategy is still working pretty well. And that's all the battles that I've done yesterday, or all the battles worth covering that I've done yesterday. My party is slowly adjusting towards an AoE party myself. For example, I'm slowly trying to move in these AoE attackers like Ares. I was planning to get Licorice to throw in, because Licorice would be another Dark Faction buffer and AoE attacker. Didn't get her. So I may be looking at building up Rene. So very likely I'm looking at building up Rene. But there is also the option that other people mentioned of building up Akaya. A teleported forward Akaya to attack enemies and whatever could be a very viable option as well. So we'll see about that. I have various options in terms of the character that I'm going to build up now instead of Licorice. And we'll see how it goes. Still making a decision of who I want to build. There is the option of Rene, there is the option of Akaya. And of course, there is Rin coming up, there is Hobo Landius coming up. Those are more faction buffers and AoE attackers. Even Arianrod is an AoE attacker, right? She's a Lancer AoE striker. So, whole bunch of possible AoEs strategies coming up. But we'll see. Yeah. Right now, I'm kind of in a transition phase. Haven't really decided which way to go. If I want to go single target strikers, Pass Raise is a good point. Build up mobility buffers like Imelda. Like, Akaya actually fits in very well for both parties. So maybe I will do Akaya rather than Rene. There's also the option of finishing up Hiei and Angelina and these heroes too. So need to make some decisions, that's for sure. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this stream. And actually, I think it's time for more Apex matches, but I'm not going to jump into those. So, that's it for now. And on that note,